Welcome to Weekly Talkback. I'm Kevin Beers,
I'm Pastor Dave.
and this is the show where we get to talk to Pastor Dave about his message from the previous Sunday. This week is March 24th, 2024, and the name of your message was A Beautiful Thing. And just kind of recapping what that was about was a woman pours perfume on Jesus lavishly, and essentially the disciples are grumbling that this is such a waste of money. And Jesus says, why are you bothering her? What she did was a beautiful thing, which is
Hmm.
where your title comes from.
Hmm.
So that's actually what I want to dig into. You mentioned that if a brethren, the Church of the Brethren, any of us saw that, and we would just be so taken aback, like, why did you waste so much money? We could have used that money to help the poor. Everything the disciples said, we can help the poor. We can, there's so much we could have done. And all you did was dump it on him. So, uh,
Yeah.
do you find that pretty much true, not just with the brethren, but pretty much most? Uh,
I would have answered that a month ago, yes, but I ran into someone and had a conversation with someone, and we were out for a walk, and we passed a house, and I always say to this person, "I like that house. I like that house," and this person said, "Well, I'm going to pray that you get a house like that," and I said, "No, it's way too elaborate. It's way too much money," and she said, if you got it, it would be a gift from God, and you shouldn't turn it down or look at it in a negative way. You brethren are always that way. You're you're looking at gifts in a way that like somehow you're not deserving of them or something like that. So I would have said yes, but now with that conversation, I say no. There are people out there that would receive a lavish gift as a gift from God.
well, I find a lot of people actually will say, like, God's going to bless me. I'm going to, it's almost a prosperity gospel in many ways. Like God's going to bless me. I'm going to have all this money. I'm going to have an easy life and all that. And well, first of all, I totally disagree with that. Uh,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, God might provide that for you. I'm not saying he's not going to do that, but you accept whatever it is you have. Now, do you work toward it? You could. I look at money as a tool. Actually, one of my goals is to have enough money so I can help the poor, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Because, the best way to help the poor is not be one of them, really. I
Yeah.
mean, that's a saying I've heard many, many times.
Hmm.
Because if you are poor, it's
Is
very,
that a Bible verse someplace in
uh,
there, Kevin?
yeah, in Kevin 3:1. No, but it's, but there's that idea. But I've often thought about this because one of the big criticisms I hear people have of many different Christian organizations, specifically the Catholics, because the Catholics have these very ornate uh, uh,
Cathedrals?
churches, the cathedrals. Yeah, I couldn't think of them. And I used to be one of those people that would criticize that, but then I thought about it. For those of the Catholic tradition, the mass, the worship is the most important thing of all. It's the people are not important during mass. The mass is important. And it's this offering to God and with everything you have, including, these ornate, everything when you think about the way God designed the temple or not just the
Hmm.
tabernacle to start with,
Hmm. Right.
things had to be made out of gold. Like
Yeah.
it was like an all out effort. And then when Solomon built the temple, again, all kinds of expense went into that. So are we just saying that, everybody in biblical times was wrong about it or
No, but I think that, particularly the brethren, our tradition has been, we claim to be a simple life kind of people. And so that would be a bit obtrusive to our lifestyle. But, I mean, we've drifted enough from that, that I don't know that that's an issue. But more importantly, I think what you're saying and what I hear you saying, and I think that goes along with our story of yesterday, is that uh, we are given gifts, creativity being one of them, to build an elaborate architectural cathedral in honor of God and for God, in a way to give praises to God, is much the same as a composer like Beethoven or Mozart that would put all their efforts, creativity into producing a masterpiece of music, again, in honor of God. And so, I get it. If you're capable of using wealth in a way to honor God, I can see that beauty is and creativity and the arts. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good way to do it. And I think her gift to the point I was trying to make yesterday was if you had one act that you could share with someone that you truly, truly love, and an expression of love, one deliberate act, what would it be? And so that I was paralleling that with what she did for Christ, that she did one act that expressed her love in the way that only she knew how to do. I mean, I think that was a point, part of the points in the sermon as well.
Hmm. Yeah, because I see both sides of it. Yeah, they could have fed plenty of people with that money, but at the same time, Jesus makes the point, hey, the poor are always going to be here, and you can help them anytime.
Right.
There's nothing stopping you from doing that. But why are you? Maybe the point that I'm kind of seeing is he's saying you're criticizing other people for doing it their way
Mhm.
versus how you would do it. you know, and
Yeah.
and yeah, for someone like me who's not a materialistic type of person, that did seem like a huge waste. Maybe that just makes me very brethren. I don't know, but but for me, ma- material things are not important, so I don't see the point in spending the money on them.
Right. Right. The other thing that I would point out that I didn't actually point out in the sermon, but as you were speaking, I thought about it. Jesus's whole lifestyle was a very simple, very austere kind of life. And for him to allow that himself, I mean, I could see where he would be like, don't do this. This is way too lavish, with his humility and everything. But yet, and maybe this is the whole point. He accepted it because it was a priestly act. It was, in his terms, preparing his body for burial. So, I mean, he looked at it in a way that perhaps no one else looked at it. That indeed it was an act of love expressed specifically because he was going to be killed on Friday, and this was part of that whole um, preparation for burial.
Mm. Yeah, and I would even say for a lot who would call it a waste. At the same time, for instance, in our culture, we buy an expensive engagement ring for the person that we love. We purchase things for the people that we love,
Hmm.
and anybody, and you know, even if you're a very frugal person, you will still tend to do that because there's this compulsion almost to show your love in
Yeah.
some tangible way.
Right, right. I mean, how many times do you see on TikTok or on the Reels, on Facebook or something, a gift from the parents to their 16-year-old daughter, a brand new Mercedes or something like that. It's to us, it's like, oh, come on, that's the most stupidest thing I ever seen. But at the same time, I mean, maybe there's some legitimacy in the fact that this is one way that they can actually show and express their love for their daughter or son, by buying them this expensive vehicle.
Mm.
Um, that
And
seems a little bit more what I would say a waste, and probably not very. educational, or it's not a good lesson in terms of here we go. I mean, I'm getting off, but when I was 16, mom and dad said, "Yeah, you can have a car. You got to work for it. You've got to buy it, and
Exactly.
then you've got to pay for the insurance and the gas." And so, yeah, it took me, a little bit of time to do it, but I appreciated knowing that that car was mine because I had to earn the money for it. You get a $50,000 gift of a vehicle at 16-year-olds. You have no idea what it took to uh, to earn that kind of gift.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think we all look at it from our own understanding. Like when we look at her, the woman pouring the perfume on Jesus from our point of view, is like we don't have that money to throw away. Why are you throwing it away? Like
right.
we project our own understanding on them.
That's right. They were, the disciples were poor themselves. And Jesus, they lived a very impoverished kind of lifestyle. They chose to do it that way. And so, yes, I mean, from that vantage point, you would say that was a big waste. But from her vantage point, and I make the claim that she probably, John makes the claim that it was Mary, the sister to Martha. And as I was studied that and thought about it, I thought, where would Mary come up with that kind of money? I claim it's $50,000 in today's standards. Where would she come up with that kind of money to buy that kind of perfume? It had to have been a woman of wealth of some measure, and perhaps a prostitute where, she actually, made money and was able to lavish it upon Jesus. It's an interesting story. The other point that I thought was interesting in Mark's version is we don't know the woman's name, but we knew specifically the name of the perfume and what the jar of the perfume was made out of.
Well, if it's, I believe that I think the term rare is connected to it. Because like you pointed out in your message, it was an expensive process to create it, and then it wasn't even close to where they were located.
Right.
There's the matter of transporting it, and it just everything about it made it expensive.
Yeah.
And so, if anybody knew anything of it, yeah, that would stick in your mind. I could see where that would stick in your mind. The fact that none of the gospel writers can agree on who it was that did it
Yeah. Yeah.
necessarily.
Yeah.
Uh, it, it, that tells me that's probably not. Well, I would say that's not an important part of the story, but Jesus does say everybody's going to talk about this, forever.
Yeah. Yeah. They'll
And
talk about the action, but they won't remember who it was that did it.
okay, we will wrap it up there. And if you did not see the entire message, I'll link it down in the description. Go, you can watch it there. And then come back and tell us what you think. Leave a comment, leave a like, click the notification bell so that you're notified every time we put a video out there. You'll be notified of that. And we'll see you next week.
Take care.